You would think.
Huh?
Miss anybody?
The Stephanie, well, you know.
Oh, was she the only one? Other one in your group?
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead. Okay, here we go. People in the audience, please watch, come up with good commentary. the gallery, what do we got? Bill?
For both of you two, you both had both degrees of intensity and degrees of really great facial expression. I can tell that you guys are just having a great time. So as a musician, that's fun. Also, Eric, thank you for cueing me on the section. So
I think it's on the must cue list, right? You gotta get that in there. Saxophones really need the extra support. No, we do. Hashtag we gave. Anyway, but yes, I think you guys, you do look comfortable up here. I think it's clear that you put some time into really thinking about the music and thinking about what it needs to look like. I think most particularly when there are really big changes, it was really evident. I think for you two, the next layer of the cake is going to be to show the more subtle changes. The middle of the piece, it's filled with different textures and different voicings, and those were not shown as convincingly as the beginning and the end. When it gets really big and really loud, you both instinctively smiled. I don't know if you knew that or not, but your faces both lit up, both of you, when the music got really big and grand, both of you just sort of came alive to a degree. And I think that's because you felt like you knew more what to do with that. And I think that's a normal progression into our conductor selves. Big changes are easier to figure out what to do with, and you're there now. So now I think the question is, how many different shades can you show when the texture difference is a matter of flutes and clarinets versus horn and saxophone versus low brass? And I think I would let the tessitura, let the range, and let the timbre, and let the texture really inform you of that going forward. Does that make sense? Every one of these repeated bass lines with the melody has a different feel to it. And so I would challenge you to really figure out what that looks like from that standpoint going forward. Beautiful. Yeah.
Going off that, I think you both did a great job of with the low brass is playing, bringing your line down, your inches down.
Mm-hmm.
But for us, we piccolo players, it's nice. Even if you're a little bit higher and just a smaller pattern or a smaller instrument, that shows the difference too.
Yeah. It's amazing how just by making your conducting look like music, how helpful that is. So yeah, when where is that in the music where it's piccolo?
The solo?
Yeah. Let's find that.
There's one on page 8.
Yeah, 8 and 9. Pages 8 and 9 are really quite light. C is one of the French horn and the alto sax trade solos. There's also a lot of motor rhythm stuff happening in the upper range. So, your pattern might be directed toward the soloist, but even at that, it's a solo, so it's going to be fairly small. Since the mid voices are going to be right about here. Yeah, makes sense? Let's see. Look at I know, the staccato stuff. The staccato stuff was marginally different than the stuff around it. I'm talking right about those 2 measures before A. So at A, when we go to staccato, you got to show that huge difference. So marginally showed it. It was a little bit more ticky, but we need to be like, makes sense? It's so dramatically different because that's a huge difference in style there. So your conducting has to be really different as well. So with staccato, get it up. Make sure that you're only really using your wrist and showing that. Otherwise, the group won't respond. If you're showing a marginal difference, don't keep doing what they're doing. You've got to be 1 beat ahead of them and do not let anyone have a second guess about what you want for them. Brian?
Yeah, I was going to say for Eric specifically, I think what you were trying to do in that section was do staccato but still have a big-ish pattern.
Okay.
And then I can understand why you, I understand why you would be tempted to do that, but it made it look kind of legato.
Okay. Yeah.
So just, even though it's a thicker texture, just keep the pattern small and tight so you can keep that staccato image going.
Yeah, staccato should really almost always be done with the focal point style. Okay, so just keep all the beats right there in one spot.
And then on the other spectrum of that, Sarah, your legato is really good. Your 2 is kind of big.
Yeah, you have a very intriguing legato pattern. Go ahead and finish your thought.
I was just like, it's not bad. It's just like
Yeah.
your 2, when you come, it's a big circle, so I can't tell like where you're going to. I think like if you're trying to make it longer, which is good, but make it like a longer and less vertical.
I think this is what you
I
tend
like
to do.
change it every once in a while on accident, and I'm like, oh, oops.
Well, you're engaging your elbow. You tend to go 1, 2,
Oh.
3, and you sort of lock your elbow, and then you go like that.
Uh-huh.
And I would encourage
Instead
you
of
not to
down.
do that. Just go from the shoulder. Simple is better. The shoulder do 90% of the work here. What do you think,
Yeah,
guys?
that's a lot.
Yeah, and it's clearer and it looks more legato as well. But you know, without the feedback, that's the great thing about this class is that we're able to really fix and dissect things really quickly. But yeah, I think that was the issue is in an effort to maybe look round, you were actually putting a point and a hitch in there. So just while you're conducting for a while, just think shoulder only. Just tell yourself and remind yourself, legato really comes from the shoulder. Okay? All right. Anything else for him? Yeah.
Right at the beginning, take out all ictus.
Yeah.
The style was really clear. It was just a little bit too ticky for like the
Mhm.
placid
Yeah,
that you're going
agreed.
for in the first like rendition. Not rendition.
Classic with a P.
Yeah, so just kind of like one plane almost.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's do this. I'm going to challenge you to put scores behind you. And even if you don't do it exactly at one beat before it changes, even if you hear the texture changing and you think, oh, that's higher, I'm going to conduct up, let's just see the change. Even if it's a little bit late, even if it takes you a second to like think about it and figure out what to do, let's just see more variety in the subtle parts. Okay? All right. Okay, here we go. The word of the day is diversity. And don't be shy about your prep breath. Nice and deep, like when you sing. 2, 3, 1. Hey, Sarah, get your elbow out a little further and use a little more shoulder. Careful not to use too many hinges. Try not to bounce. Hey, use your vertical plane. Now very legato and light. It's mostly solo and upper woodwinds. Raise the beat line a little bit. Show that thin texture. So flute and oboe, even lighter. Big breath. Peanut gallery, we see improvement. Yeah, I think, again, you know, conducting is hard because it's just so new to us, right? And it's so hard being comfortable in our own conductor skin and taking chances, taking risks in front of our peers. And you guys, you did that. You made some good strides up here. I coached you through a couple things and you reacted immediately. Watch the video. I think you're going to see that some of the things you're doing are really effective. And some of the things that you may think that you're doing that are really different and bold are coming across a little bit similar to what you did before. So it's a matter of just figuring out what you need to do, like choreography-wise, to make it a little bit more different with each repetition. Make sense? All right. Thank you very much. Great job, guys. Yay! Good score! Hey, Nicole, can you make sure that everyone's doing fine? I think you're going to be okay, actually.
Yeah, they're fine.
Yeah. Jose, why don't you please put this line?
Yeah, I think they just need to spread out a little bit that way.
Come on down, guys. I think you can see to the edge of here, right? For the most part?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, come on down. There you go, right there. And you guys can spread out. I think the camera can see the entire whiteboard, so as long as you're in front of the whiteboard, you're okay. Bill, you
A little bit. You guys are kind of in it a little bit.
Still good? You can see Bill?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, Peanut Gallery, please come up with some really useful commentary. Here we go. Especially choral folk, give them some pointers. Here we go. appreciate keeping the sound vibrant. Yeah.
I saw some hands like this, closing the sound, keep the palm up.
Pretty similar to what we've been doing in band, you know, for all these people. Dr. Benoit and I, on long held no, you probably wouldn't see us going like this, right? This is contrary to what you want. You go toward the ensemble. If you're moving toward the ensemble, you're telling them, give me more. So the hand out, saturated, saying support, support, support. I know Dr. Wiss does this a lot, I think, right? To energize the sound. So that's an idea. I think that works better for choral than for instrumental. Instrumental, I think, can be good just energizing like this, all the way to the cutoff. Okay? Yeah, Brian.
Well, I was just gonna say that like the fingers thing with Dr. Wiss is just for like spin and the sound. That's like her signal to add a little vibrato.
Okay. Either way, it's still energizing the sound, right? Yeah. So you folks in North Central know what this means. And as you work with your ensembles, when you get your own ensembles, they'll develop that rapport with you. Just make sure that you are consciously doing something that is constructive when it comes to sound production, and especially since all of us choral and all of you wind players, I know you're probably one of the few exceptions here, you were orchestra, right? But you know, I'm sure that if you were to have an orchestra and you went like this, they would get what you want, right? Yeah. So just think about those kind of things. All right, commentary from y'all. What do you have? Here's yours.
The majority of you look like kind of sad the whole time, which like, not very good. Like Christian, you're very solid in your movements, but just maybe like raise your eyebrows a little bit. You're like sad. So everyone was kind of like, they were just like focusing. Yeah, but like,
I think that your cues, Bill, were awesome, and something I like really noticed this time was every time that you cued the same section, you turned your body the same way. And I even noticed one time you went to like cue the girls and you moved towards like where the hypothetical guy section was, and you're like, oh no, they're over here. It like showed me that you were imagining like the ensemble in your head, and it was just very believable, and I knew exactly what you were doing. So
Yeah, attention to detail is really cool. Sarah's just.
Yeah, mine was also specifically for building off of what Kirsten said. There was like right there at the end, you like got one of the bravados, and I saw you smile. You were like, yes, I did it. And then you like stopped yourself from smiling. So like, let yourself smile.
Yeah.
Oh, that was like, oh shoot, I messed up, or, like I messed up something. I'm kind of like, I messed up something. I'm like, wait, no, not yet.
Yeah, keep that lightness, because there was another cue in there where you looked like right here, which was almost me, and you were like, come in. So I was like, oh. But yeah,
Sarah?
find that balance.
Other Sarah, sorry.
I was like, what?
I have a comment for Chris. So something I noticed for your beat too, you tend to like kind of lean your shoulders with the beat, which might just be a habit that you can use.
You have a lot of hinges going, Chris.
Yeah.
And do you notice when you conduct, your foot is up like this the whole time?
No, I really
You
don't.
probably don't notice those things. Watch your videos. If you watch the video, you're going to catch 90% of this stuff. But you have a tendency to use like every hinge in your body when you do that. You're using the leg, you're using the hips, you're using the head, and it conveys that you're not confident with what you're doing because you're not stable. If you are stable and standing upright and only really using the face and the arms, there's a confidence and a security that comes with that. When you're sort of using everything, it displays, whether it's intentional or not, but it looks less confident and less secure. So I think just practice being stable like a table. You know what I mean? Just hold yourself and be aware of what your body is doing while you're conducting, and just try to make it so that you're only using the things that are the most effective face and hands. Okay? Okay. So make sure that your feet are firmly planted. Yeah. Okay. Adam.
Also for Chris, on your downbeat on one, it's really heavy a lot of the time, so that's going to make the singers come in heavily in the song. And then for Zach, I would open your fingers up when you're conducting the piano, just relax a little bit.
Yeah, Zach, you've got your elbows in front of your torso. That's great. I think you can bend it back a little bit and look a little bit more organic. This looks a little zombie-like, like zombie apocalypse. If you just bring it back a little bit, just round it out, all of a sudden it looks very natural and very welcoming. Does that make sense? So let me try that. Go ahead and put your arms out like this, all the way, and then I'll bend them like that. Looks better, guys, right? And the baton should still be even with your sternum. So there should be an angle here, an angle there, and an angle there. Does that make sense? Yeah, very good. You do tend to come down hard on things. Just remember that a downward motion already looks hard. A downward motion will already have an accent to it, so you don't need to put further weight into a downward motion because it's going to pretty much take care of itself. So don't feel like you need to press into a downward motion for accent. Okay? All right, yeah.
But it's also for Zach, I know we've commented a lot on a lot of the guys like with their mouths being closed, and you did a good job of not doing that, but also put your like the rest of your face into it, so you're not just sitting there like. So like, yeah, just like emoting more than, but like having your mouth open and having that habit start now is good.
Sarah.
Bill, I think that you have a purpose and a reason for every single movement that you do, and it's just very helpful for your performers. So like things like, I can see you actually like holding the sound, and like just little things like that really illustrate what you're trying to do. So it's awesome.
How about for Jose? Does anyone? Sarah.
It's very clear that you know the music, but you're having trouble almost like pushing yourself out of it, out of the music. You're looking down a lot, or maybe just kind of like thinking more rather than like putting yourself out there. So I suggest like taking yourself out of the music and putting a little more like loop into your pattern and like a little more emotion, and you'll be right there.
But you're doing some beautiful things. You're conducting a pattern, and the shape, and it looks so natural. You've got a lot of stuff to work with here. I think that feel confident in what you're doing. Take it to the next level, like Sarah said. You can get out of your own head now because what you're doing, you've practiced it, you know it. Now it's time to really take some musical risk and be more expressive, okay? Just a couple of real quick things. Hey, Bill, try not to stop your motion. When you stop, that indicates the sound stops. So if there's a long note, keep moving through it. You know what I mean? There are a few times where your motion completely stops, and an ensemble will not know how to react to that, unless there's something going on like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. Let's see. Christian, let's make sure that in the legato that you're not conducting heavily into the beat. Maybe it's a percussion thing, and show the beats. Rely on the ensemble to find it. Being a little bit more legato and less insistent upon showing the beat. Maybe it's a matter of acceleration. I think that they're accelerating really hard and using a lot of verticality to come into your legato pattern. Get rid of the verticality almost completely. You go a lot more horizontal. Good? All right, put the scores behind us. Let's try this again. Yeah, sometimes just the magic comes out. Sorry. Here we go.
See
Alexa.
I have two things. One, Jose, I noticed the first time that you held out one of the long notes, you did a really good crescendo, and then your hand like dropped, and then the second time you chose a different way to cut it off, and that like showed that you were keeping like the energy going through the note. So it was cool to see you like realize throughout the score and like fix that really quick. So that was really good. And then Chris, just try not to count. I know it's hard and it's like a hard habit to break, but like you know the music and everyone will be able to like keep the beats in their head. They'll just follow you, so you don't have to worry about counting.
Or at least do it internally, like just
Yeah.
try to get out of the habit of
Yeah, like mouthing it.
mouthing it, yeah, Sarah.
Christian, you do a really good job at like looking relaxed, which will really help singers to like ease any tension that's going on. Like you totally do the like keep your mouth open thing and like you just look
But not
relaxed.
in a way that looks weird, like, yeah, those like, you can look like a zombie with your like hanging open.
Yeah, oh yeah.
But it's
for
to
sure.
the right degree where it looks normal and natural, yeah, not awkward, yeah, agree. Eric?
Bill, everything you're doing is great, except the left hand continues to stay down, which I think, like Dr. Kelly said, maybe is a band thing, I don't know. But all of your cutoffs were all down. So just when you're doing choir, just that.
A band too, I mean, yeah.
Yeah. And at the end, I saw you do it, but then you flipped it. So I know you're thinking about it. So yeah.
Yeah, and there really aren't that many situations where you would actually just hold out your arm like this. There really aren't. It's almost always going to be holding a sound like in the palm of your hand. Cutoffs are going to, almost always start like this. And then you'll do that. But you're never going to be with an ensemble with your hand out like this for more than a couple of seconds. If you find yourself doing that, ask yourself what the purpose is and what you're trying to show, and there may be a better way to show it. Because downward gestures basically almost always go like this, which encourages a group to be quieter or soften. So just keep those things in mind. Yeah. Anyone else? Yeah. Cool.
This is for Zach. I don't know if everybody else notices, but I feel like you're very tense, even though you're like calm on the inside, but like on the outside, it literally looks like you're super tense. And as a conductor, as musicians, we don't want to see a conductor really tense, because then it just gives us some sort of like unease. So try to like relax your body, try to have some facial expressions every once in a while. Not like move your entire body, but like just look a little bit more relaxed when you're conducting.
Yeah, conducting is definitely, it's one of those things where we give you some guidelines that are sort of left brain things that you need to do, but it's not like plug and play. You can't go, okay, elbows in front of torso, mouth open, and be done with it. You have to craft it. And so I would encourage everyone to watch your videos. You may be doing all the things we talked about, but then that's like the framework. That's the skeleton of the building. After that, you've got to really make that into your own. So you're doing everything we've asked you to do. Your elbows out, your mouth is open. You're doing a lot of things that we've spoken about, but now it's time to make it into what Zach needs to do for Zach. You know what I mean? So yeah, watch the video and I think you'll know exactly what she means. I would just say take what we've given you as the framework and then craft it to be your own effective conductor. Yeah. Make sense? Is that what you're trying to get at? Okay, cool. All right, one more thing, just as just an aside, everyone, when you're conducting the accompaniment, you don't necessarily need to have your arm out like this. You can bring it back. Okay, 1 and 2. Does that make sense? And then in measure 3, when you get ready to bring in the choir, then you can bring your arms back out. That instinctively gets everyone's attention, and then 4, 1. So whenever you've got just the piano accompaniment, don't feel like you have to be out here. You can bring it back, and this different use of sagittal will help to get the choir's attention when you really need to bring it back in. Make sense? Okey-doke. All right, does anyone have a dry erase marker on them? Because that one is dead. We need to talk about transposition. No? Okay, I'm going to try to track one down. I'll be right back. Yay, we're on a hunt for a marker.
Good job, guys.
This sounds familiar.
Like during the sound, like this thing, and then like going through the camera, like every time.
Okay, so we're just going to briefly discuss transpositions, just the basics of it. For people who don't deal with transpositions, it can be a really confusing concept. Choir and orchestra, at least stringed orchestras, don't deal with transpositions too much. Full orchestras deal with it to some extent. The bands, it's their life. Band is almost 100% transpositions. So we're going to talk about 3 different transpositions. So concert pitch, and we'll talk about written pitch. Written pitch would be so there's just 2 concepts we really need to understand here. When we say concert pitch, we're talking about the actual real pitch. So if I played a C on the piano, that's concert pitch because the piano is a non-transposing instrument. Does that make sense? C on a violin, C on a cello, C on a trombone, those would all be in concert pitch because those instruments don't transpose. Written pitch is the term we use for certain instruments that that are transposed primarily to do with their register. We transpose band instruments for a variety of different reasons. Some of them have to do with just historical traditions. A lot of them have to do with their ranges and just trying to keep their parts neatly on a staff. There are a lot of instruments whose ranges are, if you were to look at a grand staff, their ranges would be between bass and treble. So you'd have a lot of ledger lines either way you went. And so we adjust their range, we adjust their pitches so they can clearly be put on either the bass or the treble clef without having to write a whole lot of ledger lines. The instruments most affected by that are going to be the alto voices. So saxophone family and the French horn and the English horn. So let's talk about those first. Those are the more difficult ones. Let's talk about E flat transposition. E flat transposition affects the alto sax and the baritone sax. E flat transposition for the alto sax. The alto sax is written a major 6 above its concert pitch. Okay, that's because it's one of those instruments that hangs out right between staves. It's one of those instruments that really needs to be moved either up or down to fit neatly on a staff, and so we move it up to the treble clef. So it's a major 6 higher than concert pitch. Conversely, now let's just stick with that for right now. Let's say it's not going to go this way. Written a major 6 above concert pitch. I think that makes sense. So major 6 above concert pitch. So if a saxophone was reading, let's say, a G, saxophone is reading a G on their part, how do you figure out what the concert pitch is? You go up or down? Look at their written part. Their written part, their saxophone players are looking at a G. They have to go down, don't they? They have to go down major 6 to concert pitch. So what would that be, saxophone players? Yeah.
B flat.
B flat, good old B flat, right. If you played a B flat on the piano, and you need to know what note to tell the saxophones to play, then you go up major 6. Okay? So think of it this way. The saxophone is looking at their music. The alto sax or the bari sax, we'll talk about bari sax in a minute. Alto sax is looking at their music. They have to go down to find the concert pitch by a major 6. If you're playing a note on the piano and you want the alto sax to play that note, you tell them to play a major 6 above that. Make sense? Bari sax is a little bit different. What's the transition for a bari sax? Anyone?
Down minor 3 from concert pitch. octave, is that right?
Well, yes, but no. Yeah,
Same as E flat down, the alto sax down an octave.
down an octave, that's right. Octave plus major 6th. I believe it's I think it's a major 13th
Yeah.
in math,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Major 13th, yeah. Major 13th. So the barysax, because it's baritone, has to transpose even more. So it's an octave plus a major 6, which turns out to be a major 13, okay? So barysax is written an octave in a major 16th, major 13th above concert pitch. So it's quite a big jump, right? Does that make sense to everybody? Am I making sense, guys?
Yeah, we were talking, we were
Okay,
trying
just
to.
making
It
sure.
would be a minor third down, right?
You would get the note right, but you wouldn't get the octave right.
Octave, okay.
You can transpose E flat instruments by a minor third. It'll get you the right note, but it won't get you the correct octave. And that's important. So I would say, as young pre-professionals, learn it this way, and then if you want to find a way to cheat later, just know that's a thing. The minor third is a thing, but it's not going to get you the right octave, as long as you know that. But for right now, let's stick to this. So these are really the only E flat transpositions that we deal with modern wind instrument repertory. Okay. Let's talk about F transposition. There are 2 instruments in the modern wind band rep that uses F transpositions. And they're both named after different countries. Yes, French horn is one. What's the other one? English horn, right? So in that way it's easy to remember. Okay, so these are horns. English and French horns are written a perfect 5th above concert pitch. So whatever note they have on the piano, if you want an English horn or a French horn to play in, you have to go a 5th higher, perfect 5th higher. Okay. So if a French horn has, let's say, an A on their written part, they have an A. What are they in concert pitch? D. That's the note that you give them on the piano, right? The D below what they have on their page, right? Because they have to go down a 5th to find their concert pitch. Make sense? Okay. How many of you have had a background in this, or a crash course in this, or a little bit of experience with this? Okay. So there have been classes where everyone is like, what? So that's actually refreshing. You guys are responding much better. Sometimes they're like, why would you do this? And it's like, it doesn't matter. We can just do. What's the deal with it? But I think you'll understand that. Okay. So F, the only ones that apply to that are French and English horn. So from concert to written, perfect 5th up. From written to concert, perfect 5th down. Make sense? Okay, the other one that affects a whole lot of instruments is what, Sarah Burley? B flat. So, B flat involves clarinet, trumpet, tenor sax, treble clef euphonium, bass clarinet. That's really the big ones. So quite a few instruments are affected by this: clarinet, trumpet, tenor sax, treble clef euphonium, and bass clarinet. It's already pretty fairly, yeah, it's divided well. Okay, so within the B flat family, there's 2 groups of transpositions. The clarinet and trumpet are written a major 2nd above concert pitch. Tenor sax, treble clef euphonium, and bass clarinet are written, just like with the saxophones, an octave plus a major 2nd, which equals what? Major 9th. above concert pitch. And that's because those are lower instruments that their ranges go from the middle of the bass clef up into the treble clef, and so we just move them to conveniently fit into the treble clef. Okay? So the two groups of transpositions for B flat are those that are transposed by a major second, clarinet and trumpet, and those that are transposed by a major ninth, which is the low voices, tenor sax, treble clef euphonium, and bass clarinet. So if a trumpet, we're looking at, let's say, an E flat on their music. Trumpet's looking at an E flat. What's their concert? What's the concert pitch of that note? D flat. Major second down. So it would be D flat. The same notes would be the case for this group of instruments, but which D flat would it be? The one right next door? No, it would be an octave below that, right? Okay, it's all making sense? It all seems to. Okay, we're going to have a brief quiz on Monday. Here's all you need to know. All you need to know is the instruments and the directions that they go. That's it. Okay, I'm not going to ask you to actually do. Yes?
In arranging and orchestration, we take a transposition quiz like every week.
I'm sure you do. You guys are going to be fine. But since that class is rarely available to music ed people, most people don't take that.
Yeah.
So we have to make sure there's at least a basic understanding. So this is going to be like super basic for you guys. All you're going to have, folks, it's going to be like this. It'll say trumpet, and it'll say, let's see, bass, clarinet. Or it'll say baritone sax. What time is it, guys? Okay, so this is right on time. Perfect. Okay, I'm simply going to ask you what direction they transpose up here. So from written to concert pitch, and I'll say concert pitch to written. It'll be the inverse, right? The only problem is, if you screw up one, you probably screwed up both, okay? So don't screw it up. If you want to come up here and take pictures of all this, I would recommend that. I'm also going to put a practice sheet on Blackboard, okay? I'll put a practice sheet on Blackboard for you to do that'll show you the exact layout of the quiz and what you'd be expected to do. And then if you have any questions, you come back Wednesday with questions. Sound good? Okay, thank you very much. Have a great rest of your week 8. Try to stay sane. Drink lots of water, lots of sleep. Yada, yada, yada. All right.
So you said that we transpose some instruments from historical. Is that what we're doing? So we one step away from
Because, I mean, clarinet and trumpet are almost silly to do it.
And like there's, I've always thought that it's not like one step away, but well, one step, 2 steps.
No, it's one step. It's I know what you mean. Yeah, good point.
Okay, historical.
Yep.
That's fine.
Yeah, there are just historical traditions that we just